What is your relationship with time? Are you wired and tired, stressed and overwhelmed, busy and going nowhere? Or just want to scale your business? Welcome to Take Back Time with your host, Penny Zenker. Penny focuses on books, strategies, tools, and tips to help you work smarter and approach your time more strategically. As a result, you can have more energy, focus, and get more done in less time. Be more efficient and effective. Get ready to take back time.
Hello and welcome to Take Back Time. My name is Penny Zenker and I'm your host. And today I'm super excited to talk with Greg Zlevor. Did I say that right, Greg?
Greg Zlevor, yep.
Greg Zlevor. I said it right, so I'm cool. And
Great for even trying.
My pleasure. So Greg is CEO and president and founder of Westwood International Consulting Collaborative, keyword there, that's reimagining, right? Reimagining what it means to lead wisely in a global age, right? So that's really something just in itself to think about. It's very powerful what Greg is doing there, is reimagining what it means to lead wisely in a global age. And Westwood's signature global scale action learning programs and change management initiatives have energized the vision of global brands like Volvo, the Singapore Police Force, ConMed, General Electric, Cochlear, Boston College, J&J, and many others. Most recently, Greg has spearheaded 3 new projects: the Leadership Project, a podcast that seeks to redefine workplace and leadership development; the Global Community for Leadership Innovation, a collaborative of global companies, including J&J, Honeywell, MGM, and others that work together to discuss and explore new models of the best practices within leadership development. And finally, Leading Mindfully, a customized program that seeks to center employees and leaders in mindfulness practices so that they can better serve themselves, their teammates, and their institution. So we've got a super powerhouse in the house with Greg today.
Thank you, Penny. It's great to be here with you.
Yeah, welcome. I'm super excited to pick your brain.
Very good. Very good.
So what I like about your introduction, and I'd like to hear more about it, is you're not just talking about leadership. You're talking about reimagining, right? I had to relook at the word. What is that? So talking about reimagining and really changing the way and finding new ways to develop leaders. So what's brought you to that point to say we need something new in leadership, and how did you get there?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's this collision course between technology and human interaction. And it's fascinating to me in that, I mean, right now, this generation that's coming into the workforce spends less time outdoors, less time in nature, spends less time interacting, and yet they're coming in with greater expectations, with a need for more training and development, and with a need for more and better feedback. And so it's ironic because what the generation of people in their 40s, 50s, 60s would be doing is giving feedback face to face. And so this generation is finding more and better ways to interact electronically, but wanting more feedback. And so how are those going to come together? And it's fascinating to watch that collision take place, between the generations. And so what we do, and what I see my role is being a bridge between those two worlds. And the reimagining comes in terms of how do we make that happen?
Gotcha. And so your main thing, if I'm understanding, is because we have these different generations in the workplace and they think so differently and their needs are different. And so it's how to interact with that as well as the technological aspect. Is that right?
Absolutely. And then on top of that, the expectations of companies and enterprises is rising. The bar is getting higher. It's not just enough for a company to put out a good product. That company has to more and more be sustainable, has to be working to contribute to good within the world, and also has to be creating an environment that is conducive to nurturing and growth in addition to productivity. And people are joining the workforce and expecting, in some respects, almost what they used to get from their neighborhood or their church or their playground. They're looking for a community, for a network, for best friends.
From your workplace, you're saying?
From the workplace. Because the old places where they used to have that don't exist anymore.
Or maybe it's because they're spending more of their time in the workplace. And therefore...
That could be too. But what's interesting is employees are expecting a lot more of those needs to be met in the workplace than they used to.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Tell me, is that from a study that was done? Because I would think that with Facebook and all these other communities outside of work that have been created, people are more and more involved in charities and different types of organizations. I would think that they're getting a lot of their needs met in other areas. Not to say that they don't have different needs for the organization, but that was just my thought. Is there some study that kind of brings that to light?
Well, yes and no. And I'm making some connections here.
Okay.
So as an example, this generation has more resources and more opportunity than any generation that's existed. From both a medical perspective, a health perspective, from an entertainment perspective, from an educational perspective, from a network perspective. I mean, this generation has access to all of that in ways that people 20, 30 years ago never had. Yet, even though they have more resources and more connections and an opportunity for a greater network in education and talent development, they have the greatest number of issues from a mental health perspective, from a loneliness perspective, and from a relationship struggle perspective than any generation in history since we've been tracking it.
Interesting.
And so
they're seeking it in the workplace.
Correct. They're seeking more of this connection. They're seeking more feedback. They're seeking more validation in the workplace. And they're doing it from a platform that's more technologically oriented. Now, how do you do that? I mean, one, leaders today, executives and leaders, especially if they want to attract and retain incoming talent, it's not enough to be clear about here's our mission, here's our vision, here are our goals, and here's our culture. That culture needs to up its game to be more interactive, to be more dialogic, and to give more back. And so all of that is raising the bar for what a company needs to do and deliver. I mean, I read an article about, it's crazy as this sounds to me and probably to a lot of people, that there are some students or graduates who bring their parents to their job interview.
Get out.
No, I've read about this.
Oh,
and there's some companies who are reaching out to parents. Look, here's what we're going to do for your child.
Wow.
Here's what we're going to do for your student. Now, even I'm like, wow, I think that's too far.
Yeah. Well, it's the whole everybody gets a trophy. There's different opinions on whether that is adding value or lacking certain developmental skills. So that's really interesting, right? Really, really interesting.
It's fascinating. But here's the other thing that I did read in terms of research, which I find fascinating, is that my generation, when it came to onboarding and training when you started a company, my generation would say, okay, it's a check the box. Let me just do it and get it done. This generation coming in wants it, expects it, and yearns for it. They're looking for ways to become more competent and more educated. And so there's a real hunger. I think this generation gets a bad rap in some respects because, you talk about the helicopter and taking care of and hand-holding.
Right.
And there's part of that, but there's also part of this group is the most talented group to ever come out. They're looking to make a bigger difference in the world. They're not just driven by money. Their values are more inclusive. All of these things are extremely positive.
Absolutely. I heard that people have been complaining about the young generation coming out of college forever, right? It was always how irresponsible they are. And
I think it's just the opposite. I think they're extremely responsible. I think they're extremely talented. And they're going to ask for things that we may, as an older generation, say, come on, just suck it up.
Right.
But that's really not, first of all, I think the healthy approach. Second, I think it would be shirking our responsibility of raising our bar as well.
That's what I was going to say, is that I think they're challenging the status quo so that we can raise the bar, so that we can be better companies and care more about the people, as you said, add more caring into the training and add more purpose into what the company stands for. And I think that the fact that they're demanding that and that they want more feedback and that that's creating a culture where you don't just have your annual review, but you need to have check-ins on a regular basis. Well, that's just good business. I'm sorry, but I know companies who don't have the time to even get to their annual reviews. Well, their people are disgruntled, unhappy, and that's why we have 70% of the workforce that's disengaged, is what Gallup says. And that's why these changes are absolutely necessary.
Yeah, and I think if cultures in large companies and companies that have been around for a long time look at this generation and get inspired by them and pushed by them and embrace them, they'll find themselves better off rather than fighting them or resisting it or trying to change this generation coming in. Rather than trying to change it, I think we're better off being changed by it. Yeah, and to take those healthy values that they're bringing, to adopt them and work with them.
Absolutely. And that's today's leadership, right? So
Correct.
That brings us into that piece. So I know that you design and run different types of leadership programs for large organizations and mid-sized, small organizations, whatever. So how do you do that so that you can help these leaders, whether they've been in leadership for a long time and they need to make a mindset shift, or whether they're young leaders coming up? How do you develop a program that helps them to reinvent their leadership?
Yeah, so one of my mentors, Jim Rohn, used to say, you have to work harder on yourself than you do on your job. And so the first place for real leaders to begin is themselves. So we spend a fair amount of time and effort working on emotional intelligence, presence, mindfulness. So if I give you a paintbrush, whether I give you a cheap paintbrush or a nice paintbrush, it really doesn't matter if you don't know how to paint.
That's right.
And even if you know how to paint, if you don't have a soul and a spirit in your painting, it lacks. And so in addition to helping people develop skills, and we do the skill building as well, how to make a presentation, how to facilitate a group, how to run a meeting, how to help a group make a decision, how to deal with conflict, how to create a strategy, et cetera, et cetera. We teach those skills. But we teach them on top of people committing to working on themselves, so as they develop those skills can multiply in impact because they personally are getting better. So as an example,
they can teach them to others, right? Because that's part of that leadership, right? Is when they have the skills that they've developed, then they're able to bring that down to their teams so that their teams have those skills, right?
Exactly. That's part of it, right? So if you learn something and you have a spirit of serving and caring and nurturing and helping, as soon as you get something that's good, whether it's a skill or an insight or idea, you share it with others. So that's part of this mindset or approach of seeing a cause bigger than yourself. That's part of the foundation that when people start to establish and develop that habit and that mindset of coming from that place, they become more impactful because they can spread, they can become contagious and very positive.
Distractions are the enemy of productivity. Go to distractionquiz.com and find out your distraction profile. Are you a time zombie or a hamster? Take this free distraction quiz today to rate your ability to focus on what keeps you from being a wizard. Go to distractionquiz.com.
Positive ways.
I love that type of programming as well. I do some of that myself. And I find that, what people don't recognize is the importance of that emotional intelligence as part of leadership. How do you see that? Our overall theme is Take Back Time. How do you see the emotional intelligence aspect of leadership helping leaders to take back time?
Yeah, so I see it in a lot of places. One, if leaders can learn just to be more present, to have better focus and better observational skills, they will see what is happening sooner than others. They will be able to predict what's going to happen in the future more accurately than others. And they'll be able to, hence, make clear decisions that pay off more often than others. Those skills come right from mindfulness, come right from presence.
Absolutely. And good decisions lead to more efficient and effective, results.
Exactly. And you'll see oftentimes how a lack of emotional intelligence or getting hooked will derail a lot of those processes. So as an example, I was called in to do a program for a team. This group saw me speak at a conference. This company saw me speak, and they came out to me right after the talk, and they said, look, everything you're talking about with regards to teams and productivity we need. Matter of fact, we have this one particular team that is really stuck. And can you come in and work with them? And I said, sure, when? They like Monday. I was like, Monday? I hardly ever get like next week.
Right.
This is an emergency, right? So I go down there. I put together a 3-day team building workshop. I show up Monday morning. I'm working with the team, taking them through the different skills, how to run their meetings, how to have the conversations, etc. And I realized this team is pretty good. I mean, they're pretty mature. They have a lot of this together. So at the end of day one, I stop and I say, what's going on here? Because I was brought in to help you be a better team, but it looks like you have a lot of the skills you need to be a great team. And one person was brave enough to speak up and they said, look, it has nothing to do with us being a team or not a team. We've produced a solution that we've given to the executive team 3 times. Every single time the executive team has said no, but no one's come down here to explain why it's wrong or why it doesn't work or why it doesn't fit. And you know what? We're not doing it again until they come down and talk to us. And it was fascinating to me because it's a common pattern. Something isn't working. Let's bring in a new skill so that it can work.
Right. Or a new tool or a new app or a new
something.
System. Absolutely.
Right. But what they don't realize, it's the foundational piece of emotional intelligence, being present, not turning away from a difficult issue, being able to have those conversations, sorting things out. And so our practice is all about, look, let's build the pieces that are most important. So while we're building the skills, we can have more and more impact with them. Skills are not a replacement, they're an enhancement.
Absolutely.
And as soon as people see them as enhancements versus replacements, they're oftentimes much, much better, right? Skills are not a replacement for low morale, difficult relationships, low productivity.
Absolutely.
No, the foundation is what we need to work on. The skills then will enhance whatever we have as a core.
Absolutely. I always talk about that it's the balance of the skills and the mindset, that you can't, the mindset and the emotional intelligence is what we build off of. So, every time we talk, I feel like I love everything that you say because it's so powerful. It's also, let's say, not intuitive for people. They think, right? An intuitive answer for them is to get a new skill, right? To get a new tool, to get a new system that's going to fix it. Because we're in that fix it mentality, when it really comes down to understanding ourselves and those soft skills and being better at communicating that are the fundamentals of any success.
Right. Exactly.
So I know that you do multi-day programs. And I would guess, we only have a couple minutes left, but I would guess that it's multi-day because you just scratch the surface if you're only going to do a couple of hours or one day. If you really want to get to the heart and the core, that's why you need to do multi-day. Is that right? Because I know a lot of companies like, oh, we don't have the time to do that.
Right. It's fascinating. I love that line of, we don't have time to train people, but we have time to fix all the mistakes.
Right. We have time to redo it over and over and over again, right?
Over and over again, right. And the reason, those companies who are really committed and know the difference it can make, do the multi-day longer programs because they know it's more than just the concept. It's also about changing a habit.
Right.
And second, if they can help not only an individual, but a network change a habit, now you're starting to influence the culture.
Absolutely.
And if they can do it over a period of time, several different groups who develop a common language and begin to do it from a collective perspective, that culture begins to shift. And I've worked in several companies where, like of 10,000, 15,000, 20,000 person companies or functions or areas, where that shift took 2 or 3 or 4 years. But after a while of learning the language, of practicing the projects and getting on board, people see it not only benefits themselves, it benefits their team. And then ironically also benefits their family when they leave work.
I was just going to say that. Yeah, for sure.
It's everything. And so they don't give up. They don't stop learning. They get committed to the process of growing. And so it becomes contagious, but it takes time.
Yeah.
And those companies understand it takes time where somebody needs to be a part of a program and also get coaching and then also get feedback and help from their peers. And then they can take and cascade that into other parts of the organization. If they make that commitment, they will get the results. The quick fixers, the ones who want to just learn a new skill, don't get it, won't go deep, and don't see the full benefits that they could be receiving.
They're not going to get those long-term results.
Correct.
So in a minute, right, and then we'll have to close for today, Tell me why you're doing this. You mentioned something about working with young people. So
Yeah. So, I started my career as a high school science teacher and football coach. And I also worked at Boston College on staff for several years. And I've spent now, last 20, 25 years doing work in corporate America, kind of expanding the skills and needs that are needed for leadership.
Mm-hmm.
And seeing the way the planet is going, seeing the way our country is challenged, especially with the divisions and the divisiveness, we really need leaders who have a vision and a focus and are strong enough to cross divides, cross differences, and build something better. Mm. I'm absolutely fascinated by the number of conversations that I'll be in or groups I'll work with, and they'll try to figure out what side am I on? Like, am I red or blue or this or that? And to me, we all have a side. Now, how do we work together to move forward? And so taking these skills and giving them back to young people, people in college or people just out of college, will be fantastically helpful, not only to them, but to the planet, because it would allow them to begin to develop the skills that they need to make the world a better place and to make their company a better place. But also, ironically, it allows them to be more valuable in capitalism, in the marketplace.
Right.
The goal is to become as valuable as possible. And so what I want to begin doing is taking all of these skills that we've been training executives on that cost thousands and thousands of dollars and start giving it now to young people so they can develop these skills as early as possible so they can make as much difference as possible. That's my personal vision over the next several years.
That's amazing. I'd love to talk to you more about that off on the side.
I'd be happy to.
Let's tell our audience where they can reach you and, so that they can have you come and develop a program for them, or just to talk to you further about what you're doing.
Yeah, no, I'd be happy to. I mean, the two best places to reach me, one, LinkedIn. I follow LinkedIn quite regularly, every day, if not every other day. And it's just my name, Greg, Greg, and last name, tricky to spell, Z as in zebra, L-E, V as in victory, O-R, so Greg Zlevor. You can find me at LinkedIn, or you can find me at the company website, which is westwoodinternational.com. And we abbreviate the international, so it's westwoodintl.com. Those are the two best places to reach me. If you want to call the office phone, I think it's 802-253-1933.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here, and really challenging the leaders who are listening and to forge their pathway to leadership by understanding that it is the skills and the mindset that they need to really see around the generations, around the different cultures and so forth in order to create new, more valuable and powerful organizations.
No, my pleasure. I love this work. And so thank you for having me on. And I look forward to hopefully talking sometime together in the future.
Awesome. And thank you all for being here, because without you, there would be no show. So thank you. And do write down what you can take away and check out Greg and his materials and what he's teaching. If you're running an organization, you're managing any leadership, bring him in to help your team to really understand and develop themselves further and to bring your culture to a championship culture. Thank you all for being here. This is Penny Zanker with Take Back Time. We'll see you in the next episode.
Thank you for listening. Today's topic is another opportunity for you to put the knowledge you learned into practice. Tune in again next week for more strategies that will help you have more energy and focus to get more done in less time, so you can continue to take back time.